You are welcome to English class today. In our previous lesson, we based our discussion on tense and time, and today we are going to continue from where we stopped last week. And based on our previous lesson, we said tense and time are two different things, but they work hand in hand. And it is through the tense that we know the time that an action took place. And thereafter, we also talk about present time. And in present time, we say is indicated by the real or immediate present action. And talking about immediate action, we refer to expressions like present continuous tense and then the simple present tense. And we also talk about timeless present, limited and unlimited time, okay? And lastly, we also talk about the present time expressed by the simple past tense. So this is what we did in our previous lesson. So today we're going to talk about past time. Past time. The past tense is indicated in the following different ways. The simple past tense. The most common way of forming the past tense is to add ed to the regular verbs, while irregular verbs form their past tense in different ways. For instance, all the verbs that take ed for their past tense and past participle, we call them regular verbs, and those that end in different ways, we call them irregular verbs. For instance, I have the verb go, that is the present. Then the past tense of go is went, and then the past participle is gone. Then we have come, which is present tense. The past tense is came, and then the past participle is come. Then we have spent, which is the present. Then the past tense is spent, and then the past participle is spent. Then watch, which is present, watched with ed, which is past tense, and then watched, which is past participle. And cook, present, cooked, past, and then cooked is past participle. So the verbs that end with ed, we call them regular verbs, and the verbs that have different past tense and different past participle, we call them irregular because they do not have the uniform ending. But for the regular verb, the past tense and then the past participle have the same ending, which is ed. All the students passed their examinations. Regular verb. And please drop the rioters away. This one is irregular because the verb drop does not end with ed. It didn't take ed for its past tense and past participles. That's why we say it's irregular. John watched the match on television. This one too is a regular verb because the verb watched ends with ed and it has the same ending with the past participle. They frequently spend weekends at Yankari. So looking at all these underlined words, you discover that they are simple past tense and it could be regular or irregular. The past continuous tense. That's another form of the past time. So the past continuous tense is used in the following ways. 1. It is used to show action continued in the past. For instance, she was always complaining about one thing or the other. The girls were cooking the food for the party. So the underlined word was always complaining. It shows that the was is past, then was complaining there. Complaining with ing is continuous or progressive tense. So join them together, we have past continuous tense. That means the action took place in the past and is still continuing. So the girls were cooking the food for the party. So all this were cooking is the past continuous tense, and it shows that the past action is still in progress. Secondly, to show that one action was going on when another took place. That is, we are still talking about the past continuous tense. So for instance, we were discussing the matter when I met her. So we're discussing. Where is past tense and discussing is progressive tense. So we were discussing the matter when I met her. So you discover that there are two actions here. So the first one is past continuous tense, followed by the second action, which is expressed in the simple past tense. She was serving the food when the man came into the kitchen. So was serving here is our past continuous tense or past progressive tense. And the second action is came, which is expressed in the simple past tense. Lastly, we were watching television when the light suddenly went off. So when you look at this, all these expressions, you will discover that there are two actions. Remember, we say that we can use the past continuous action to show that one action was going on when another took place. So you discover that the first action is expressed in the past continuous tense, while the second action is expressed in the simple past tense, all joined together. Thirdly, to emphasize that two actions were taking place simultaneously, we also use what we call past continuous tense. For instance, she was washing while her sister was drying the clothes. The baby was crying while we were singing. So looking at the underlying expression, you will discover that we use the past continuous tense in expressing the two actions that took place at the same time. The past perfect tense. This has to do with action completed before another action took place. So if two things happen in the past, one before the other, the first is indicated by the past perfect tense. For instance, the kids had slept before their father arrived. When the bell rang, my brother and I had arrived at the school. He had done the work before Monday. So you discover that the underlying expressions are in past perfect tense. And you will understand that we have two actions in this expression. But the first one is expressed in the past perfect tense, while the second action is expressed in the simple past tense. The past perfect continuous tense. This is also called action already in progress before another took place. So in describing an action that was already in progress before another took place in the past, you need to use the past perfect continuous tense. For instance, I noticed that the girl had been sweeping the compound. We discovered that the laborers had been working for 2 hours already. So the underlying expression are in past perfect continuous tense. We also have two expressions or two actions in these sentences. So unlike the first one given in the past perfect tense, this one you will discover that the first action is expressed in simple past tense, while the second action is expressed in past perfect continuous tense. The past time is also expressed by the simple present tense, and the past time expressed by the simple present tense is known as historic present. And the literature students will attest to the fact that they sometimes use expressions like this in narrating their stories. So I want you to pay attention to this brief story and then focus your attention on the tenses. My father's last hour is still fresh in my memory. An ailing old man, he comes out of his room on the evening of this day. He walks down the steps to come outside. He slips and falls. I rush to him and he is breathing heavily. No open injury. My mother and I carry him into his room and place him on his bed. But before the doctor comes 15 minutes later, he is dead. So you discover that this is the past action, but we use simple present tense in expressing it. So it's possible like that. You can use simple present tense to express past action. You can equally use simple past tense to express present action. In conclusion, what you have learned today, you have learned about past time, and the past time that you have learned about today includes simple past tense, past continuous tense, past perfect tense, past perfect continuous tense, and lastly, simple present tense, in which I say we can use it to express past action. Remember, all these are not new to you because we did this in SS1. So in our next lesson, we're going to talk about future time. Good day.